at this time. Meetings are televised every day on Channel 2 at 6 p.m. and midnight, and they're always available for your viewing pleasure on YouTube. So tonight we have a study session, and we're going to begin with a presentation by Leavenworth Unified School District 453. Come on up. You're the next contestants on The Price is Right. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you
Good,
guys?
really good.
Good.
Glad to see you.
Up is on. It's counterintuitive. There you go. Very good. Looks like I got control of the mouse. Hey, welcome to another school year.
Yay.
And I don't know
You've already
where your
started.
fiscal year aligns, but ours started July 1st. So we are really in the throes of the beginning of that. School starts 4 weeks from yesterday. believe it or
Wow.
not.
I got the enrollment letter, so.
Yes.
Wow, it's hard to
So,
believe.
We'll bring principals back tomorrow, teachers here in about 2 more weeks, and then kids a week after that. So we kind of bring them back in waves, right?
That's
So,
scary.
hey, I went heavy pictures, light text tonight. That was in honor of Mr. Hingula, so I figured you all would appreciate that. Here before you is an actually old report. You might be asking, why are we seeing some from 1819? We actually conduct this about once every 10 years. So we are actually going to probably start preparing for the next one. But it tells, if you will, the story that I've been trying to articulate over the last year about our enrollment challenges. So albeit it is a little old, but nonetheless, I think it still captures the essence of what we're looking at. So first to start with is just for everybody's review, the district boundaries, which I would say largely mirror the city of Leavenworth's boundaries. Now I realize you may have had additional annexations since this image was taken, but generally speaking, Metro at the north, the river to the east. Obviously, you'll see the western boundary, which represents really our only farm ground that we have. And then generally speaking, it's Muncie Road. We are the state's 4th smallest school district. And I know Scott knows this, he's heard it ad nauseum. We are 17 square miles. There are only 3 districts smaller than us geographically. So with that in mind, it comes with it some certain challenges. We are by classification a suburban school district. I will tell you that at times it feels like an urban school district in a lot of regards. But for purposes of how school districts are classified, we are suburban. Let's see, I'm looking for page numbers here. There we go. This spells out, as of 2023, where our earliest learners would have been located by density. So you'll see here the yellow/red is the higher density areas. As you move into the green and blue, those are our very lower density areas. These are, again, our children that were the earliest learners as of 2023. So theoretically, these would be this year's kindergartners and or preschoolers. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Skip forward to just this piece. And again, I'm looking for page 17. This was a system that at the turn of the century was over 4,000 students. Last year, we were at 3,300. So in just 25 years, you saw a 20% decline. If you go back into the 90s, we were at 4,400, and that was kind of our high water mark, if that makes sense.
That's when I was there.
Credit to Holly on that.
I know, right? It's all me, all my friends.
This one is the one that's probably jumped out to me the most. So green is a net decrease in students, K-12 students. Orange is a net increase, meaning that those are areas that have seen over time, and what I call them is a rugrat rooftop. So that's a rooftop that has at least one K-12 student living in it. So I want you to think about your local street/cul-de-sac. What did that look like at the turn of the century? How many kids were running around in the streets? And what does it look like today? And typically what I get from people is there were more kids on those streets 20 years ago than there are today.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
I realize I'm up against time, so I'm skipping through several slides. This one speaks to the volatility of the district compared to the city itself. And then, of course, I think you guys have been talking about the importance of housing. It throws in the through line, so to speak, of where buildings have been. So you will see the enrollment roller coaster, is what I call it, from 2005 through when this report was generated. Generally speaking, the population has been slowly increasing, as you guys know. We have been, if you will, subject to several changes of transition. We annually see 600 students migrate in and out. So about, again, that 15 to 20% in and out. Finally, I'll take you to this. This is the median home value. This was the other one that spoke volumes to me. The blue are those values between 75,000 up to 150. As you move into the green, certainly in the orange and red, you get to the higher value homes. So you'll see there then the dichotomy, if you will, of median home values across
What's the red?
district. Red is our highest value.
What is it?
Sorry,
Does it say a
that
number?
should be in excess of 500,000, I believe.
Okay.
And then the final one I'll leave you with is land use. So you'll see the downtown area marked by the commercial, the industrial that we do have along what I would describe as the south K4 corridor, or K7 corridor, excuse me. The rest of this district is largely R1 housing. We were recently working on a budget document for the district and talking about where our taxes are with regard to R versus C versus industrial. We are now in the district, 70% of the tax base is in R1 housing. So we've now crested, if you will, that 3/4 mark where the majority of our school district is simply housing. Of course, the rest is probably largely a mix of light industrial / commercial. Stand for any questions, but again, this is probably the biggest issue in front of us as we continue to right-size our staff. As we continue to make the most out of the buildings that we do have. It is a challenge because our system is largely dependent upon the kids that are sitting in seats. We are a student-based enrollment format.
Right.
Wow.
Housing is important to us.
It is to us too.
Students, families, jobs are important to us.
You guys have any questions for Dr. Adams?
Well, this is from 1819. Now you've gone through COVID and all that since then. So is there a major shift after this then?
Yep, so the shift here, if you will, was we were at 70% residential. We are now at 76. So that mix, if you will, is continuing to trend more towards residential tax base and less towards the commercial / light industrial tax base.
What about as far as the other slides go? Same.
Yeah, I would say
Same thing.
there's been light movement, and again, unfortunately, this is an investment, just like your housing study, as you know.
Yeah, you have to
right? So
do
we
it
have
every 10
decided
years.
to do it every 10 years.
Okay.
So,
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see
yep,
what kind of blips came through that time.
absolutely.
So I got a question regarding teachers.
Okay.
You said you're getting ready to bring the teachers back in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Are you fully staffed or you still have vacancies?
We still have vacancies. Our vacancies are primarily in one department specifically, and that is special education. Unfortunately, that has become the hardest to fill, if you will. And this ranges everything from high incidence, low incidence, autism, and so forth. We have closed the gap on a lot of our non-special education, thankfully. So unfortunately, we're not in completely staffed, but we have crested over the 90% mark.
Okay. All right. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Did you get a gifted teacher?
I do not believe we have found a gifted teacher. That is on the laundry list of special
darn,
education
really?
positions, yes.
Wow.
Yep.
Anyone looking to be a teacher? Please. I got you.
So what are some things you're looking forward to for this upcoming year then?
Well, one, every school year represents a fresh start. Fresh start for staff, fresh start for kids. Let's not forget our third stakeholder group, fresh start for parents. If you or your child did not have a good year last year, guess what? We all get a fresh beginning here on August 11th, right?
Right.
Yep.
Second, our kind of marquee program continues to be our JROTC. And they're certainly in the throes of preparation and heading into the school year. And then I think third, some of the things we've done in the way of both our earliest learners at Lawson, as well as what we're doing in the way of career and technical education. I'm excited to continue to see the progress there.
Awesome. Do you think that, have you guys done any studies that prove Lawson to be working in terms of like bringing them into the kindergarten, the early education center? And
Sure. I don't know if we've done studies necessarily. One of the data points that we track is what's called kindergarten readiness. And that is a metric, if you will, that determines whether or not that child is ready to learn as they enter kindergarten. And I would say that the data continues to point to the earlier you can get a child into our system, the better opportunities that they have as they enter into kindergarten or first grade.
Wow.
So the early investment continues to pay off.
I went to that play acting program over at David Brewer, where the kids were, I can't remember what it's called now, where the kids were dressed up like famous people.
Oh, yes.
Oh,
I forgot what it's called,
living,
yeah.
living
Something. I was just amazed at second, third graders, how they, memorize the whole story.
Yep.
And were able to and choose people who were definitely, worthy of choosing
Absolutely.
to emulate. And just the fact that they're learning history and civics and that sort of thing at that young age, because they had some really good comments, civics and our government and all that. I thought that was really good. For third graders, I was impressed.
It's amazing what the imagination of an 8 or 9-year-old can be, right?
Yeah, and to do it in that way where they all dressed up.
Absolutely.
And, use their artistic talents to do that as well. I thought it was great.
Thank you for attending that.
And I always appreciate your economics day and things that you involve. Like, I know I've been a speaker, you've been a speaker. It's nice to be invited in and be part of the community there at the school.
It is cliche, and I recognize this, but it does take a village to raise a child.
It does.
And so I applaud all of you that have been engaged and appreciate everybody's efforts in helping that.
Yeah, it's fun.
We cannot do it ourselves.
I enjoy going. Anything else for Dr.
Yeah, how do you measure the support from the parents?
How do I measure the support?
And how is it?
Sure.
Impossible.
I'm not sure I have a solid metric for that.
Yeah, I would imagine it's got to be very difficult.
Mine are more anecdotal, right?
Yeah.
Here's one for you, whether this is good or bad. I try to attend as many athletic events that I can. I like to look at what is our attendance on a Tuesday night basketball game or a Friday night football game. And that to me speaks to that level of engagement and involvement. Does that make sense? And that's more than just parents, clearly, but parents are an important stakeholder. I look at things like parent-teacher conferences and how many are attending there.
How is that?
Our parent-teacher conference data would suggest that there is certainly room for improvement. I think part of that is on us to create meaningful ways to engage and make it worth parents' time.
I cannot imagine ever missing a parent-teacher conference. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, we were the same way.
Interesting. Okay.
Have you guys had your tax talk yet? Are you going to plan to raise mill levies or?
So we
revenue
would be
neutral?
going in the paper here later this week.
Okay.
But the revenue neutral notice was effectively presented to our board last night. So as it stands, the way the finance formula works is our state aid will actually be dropping by as much as 9% in bond and interest. It is eye-opening for us, right? So as the assessed valuation has slowly crept up, what has went drastically down is the student enrollment. And those two numbers collectively determine the state's level of investment. And so because they're both working against us, we will actually need to lean more on the tax base to do just the same amount. So for example, last year to raise $1 million in ad valorem taxes, it was 50% state, 50% local. This year that will be 41% state, 59% local. Wow. So a 9 basis point increase in one fiscal year.
Wow. So that enrollment becomes that much more important.
That enrollment is ultra critical in several aspects, this being one of them. Yes.
Nothing else?
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you all for what you do.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for what you do.
Thank
Have a great night.
Let's do lunch soon.
Yep. Thank you.
All right. Community of Hope. We're going to hear from the president, right?
Chair.
Oh, chair. Okay.
I don't want to be president of anything. Cheers. I'm not a real technology person, so that's why you got all the information in an email.
Introduce yourself and your.
Sorry,
Candy,
yes.
sorry.
Candy Dial's the chair of the Community of Hope. This is Jennifer Christensen, who is our interim executive director.
Great,
Welcome.
nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So we are, as you probably know, looking for a new executive director. So we are on the search process now. But we've gotten lots of applications. So it's yeah, it's going to be quite the job to find the right person
Right, yeah.
to fit. I just wanted to go over just the things that I had sent you in basic stuff that I'm sure you all know the history of the Community of Hope. Am I right or am I wrong? I don't need to go over that part. I just wanted to say, so the Community of Hope has 3 entities. We have the day center, the night center, and Welcome Central. So the numbers on the day center, this is where people stay through the day. They get breakfast, they get lunch, they leave at 3 o'clock. They come back at 9 for the night center. They get showers, they can do laundry. They sit around, they can have meetings at Welcome Central or with the ACT team or who else comes in?
Heartland Radak.
Radak.
Yeah.
Yeah. We used to have, the medical team used
Yeah,
to
St.
come in,
Vincent's, yes.
but we have not had that since St. Vincent's changed over always. That's something we are missing. But it's great that we get guidance center people in the building
Yes.
once a month, once a week. But just we're open 365 days a year. Our number of showers have gone up since last year, since the year before. So these are numbers from 2024. Obviously, we don't have 2025 yet. So we've given 1,281 showers and done 755 loads of laundry, and that's just for guests. That's not the rate. That's
Yeah,
not.
that does not, we wash everything from night shelter, everything they wore every day, so
Yeah.
that's only guests.
So when they come into the night shelter, they change out of their clothes into shorts, t-shirt, and socks. So those get washed every day. The sheets, pillowcases, and blankets get washed every day. So as we've gone to ones that are a little not as heavy, so they get washed easier. We have served almost 2,500 meals. Thousand.
Yeah.
Thank you. So we serve lunch out of the day center, and we serve the people that are in the day center, but also people come to the door, and they take out 2-3 meals, depending on their family size or whatever, so that's the 25,000. And that's aside from all the community meals that are in the neighborhood, in Leavenworth, you know, so. The day center has lots of activities. Sometimes it's really quiet. They go in about 7 o'clock in the morning. When they get
Then they can transition.
and they transition from the night shelter to the day shelter. Then they leave at 3, close from 3 to 9. So they have to be off property. They go down to the park, they walk around, they go to the library, different things like that. We just don't have the staff to keep it open 24/7. The night shelter, which Jennifer can really speak to, the average.
Previously the night shelter director for the last 2 years before interim,
Yes.
so that's why she said.
Yes, sorry, I should have said that. Number of average nights went up to 28.9 in 2024, we were at 23 the year before. And we've gone down in veterans, which is great. It was 11%, now it's 10%. So I think the VA is doing a really great job housing more veterans and all. But we've had 249 unique individuals during that time. One of our things is we have had more families. You want to speak to that?
Sure. So specifically with that, the 249 individuals, that's in night shelter alone. That means 249, different people that stayed throughout that time. And those within that, we serve men, women, and children. And so in that, serving families is very difficult. We had everything from a 4-month-old to a 77-year-old last year. So serving those is difficult. We have in the night shelter 33 beds and 2 cribs, so we say 35 total. But we have a women's hall and a men's hall. And so kind of, finding that proper space for everybody to keep everybody safe. And we are also low barrier, which means that, the only barriers for them coming and receiving service for us are that they have to be Leavenworth County and they have to be self-sufficient. And so with that, we serve a wide variety of individuals.
What do you do if the kids are school age? Do they get taken to school somehow?
So some of them, yes. It depends. Some of them have to walk to a bus. Some of them, we try as much as possible to, kind of be honest and say this is not the ideal situation for families, and try to find them a different environment to be in. But yes, we've had, ones that we've had to help with busing in the past, or, signing up for other care for younger children when that was available and things like that. We've had some like high school age students that it's difficult because they're either just not attending, maybe they're truant, maybe they are, have old enough that they eventually like dropped out or things, and that's a tough situation.
Do you ever get like runaways?
So we do not take any minors in the building, unless they have to be accompanied by a parent or guardian. And so with that, obviously we have, there is a point that it's difficult because someone can come in and say, yeah, I'm 18, I'm 19, and so there's a kind of a verification process that goes along with that the Welcome Central side of that and the case management, Belinda works fantastically with them in figuring those things out. But yeah, in general, like, I have a family right now that has a 17 and a 15-year-old, and, when they show up at the door, I'm like, you gotta wait for mom, she's gotta, nobody cannot have minors in the building or on the premises without an adult. So if that were to, if they were ever to show up, then my first call would be probably to Leavenworth Police Department to help with that, because it's just not, it's not a safety concern for us.
What do you do with them?
Yeah.
They can't come in, and what do they do?
Yeah.
You mean in general, like the like we do have a list, of banned or no trespass individuals, and that is, unfortunately been deemed, unsafe for our facility for a variety of reasons. Our goal is always, to keep our volunteers, our staff, and our guests safe.
Sure.
Especially in night shelter, we have, we have a sign on the wall that says a safe place to sleep, and that's our goal. And so unfortunately for those individuals, if they don't have resources through family or other means, then they end up, on the streets. Obviously, I'm sure you guys are aware of the encampment by the river. There's a large crew there. And some of that is by choice, and some of them, they have unfortunately made it to where they can't receive services with us, at least for a time being.
Right. So our third bit is our Welcome Central. That's an office where we interview people. So if they've come into the night shelter for the first time, then they need to come into Welcome Central during the week, and we get their information. I can get, phone numbers, family, how much money, are you getting any income? Do you have medical care? And bring down all that. So we get a lot of people who don't have birth certificates, don't have their social security cards. So we go through all that, and that all takes a lot of time and a lot of looking at, because not everybody was born in Kansas, so we get birth certificates from all over. In there we give out, we have rental assistance, not financial assistance, but we look for rent for people, places.
Applications and stuff, yeah.
Yeah, public housing, and the guests that stay in the night shelter have like what we call a 90-day agreement. So they're not staying there forever. We say, okay, you have 90 days. We want you to work on what are your goals? Okay, housing, get a job, whatever. Every week you check in with us, and where are you on that? So, have you found a job yet? Where have you looked? Here's some suggestions. By next week when you come in, I want you to have you told me 3 places that you've gone, or you looking for housing, you know, show me. Don't just do everything on the computer. Actually go someplace.
And we've kind of transitioned that a little bit too, to instead of putting a specific time frame, saying, okay, we're gonna make a contract with you. We might know that it's 90, whatever
Yeah,
duration
we
of
put it
time.
down as 90
But
days.
it's holding them accountable to meeting certain marks and knowing that everybody's journey is different. There are some that right off the bat are gonna be eligible for multiple programs and things that are not gonna be available to the vast majority of others. If we have a veteran that comes in, they have right off the bat a lot more resources that we can connect them with, whereas, let's say, truthfully, if I get someone come in that's a sex offender, automatically, their housing options are extremely limited. So it just kind of depends where they fall on that. Are they employed? Are they not? Are they disabled? Are they not? What's their age? All kinds of different things that we work with to do homeless assessment and things like that to figure out sort of where they fall in that category.
Everybody's unique. Everybody's got their own struggles, their own history, and it's going through all their information to try to help them as best we can. And so I'm a caseworker, and I'm there on Wednesday, so I try to see the same people every Wednesday. So I have a little bit of history with them and can follow them and tell them, I really care about you. I'm just not here just because. So that just really seems to help to have a personal relationship with people and try to help them move on, tell them we really care. Do you think of anything else on?
Welcome Central is also what we were founded. So in 2014, when we started, if you're not familiar with our history, Sister Vicki Perkins, she started us out as Welcome Central. That's what we existed on. By the end of the year, they made the night shelter from that, above Catholic Charity. So our building now, if any of you haven't seen us, want to come visit us on
Yes,
Kiowa,
please.
big blue building. That's been there since 2018. So that's when we've been running all three programs since 2018. But it did start with Welcome Central.
And do you offer classes, right? So financial classes during the day, do you offer any classes?
We don't. I would love to. I would love to get back to having medical in the building, to doing free haircuts. I would love to. I'm kind of slowly starting like a art therapy thing monthly. But yeah, we would love to be able to offer some of those. The nice thing is, because of those community partnerships with Guidance Center and other things, there are ways that we can connect guests to some of those services, kind of by outsourcing.
And is it 90 days in a calendar year, or is it 90 days consecutive?
So we really try to get away from like stressing the 90-day thing, but it is like one consecutive, like you are approved for this series of time, because otherwise, like, we will have people that will, they'll show up for a week and then you don't see them for 4 months, and then they'll show up again, and it's very difficult to work with that. And so in that, you're putting a lot of case management hours and things into something that, if you've done the homeless assessment and you've put these people on these waiting lists, and all of a sudden they disappear, they fall off all those lists and you have to start all over. And so really kind of stressing those weekly check-ins and things to go, like, we have very limited, like, resources in terms of, we have a small staff. There's actually, currently only 2 full-time, me and Belinda. We're, I think, at under 12 actual employees at the moment. And so, with that, we have to be very intentional about where we put our time and energy. And so, on that, we're trying to make sure that, we're sticking to, hey, we're giving you this option for this chance of time, but you need to use it. You need to maximize, your time here by checking in and doing this.
And after the 90 days, what happens?
So with that, I would say that's where every case is different. It depends. Like, did they just completely do nothing did they choose not to check in during that duration of time at all? Have they been working with us? What options did or didn't exist to them? So, unfortunately for some of them, we've had to just cut off services and say, you know what, like, I'm sorry. I'll tell you, in the case of some of our very, like, severe addicts and things, sometimes, I will tell them, like, I love you too much to keep, I'm not going to just love you to death. I'm not going to to enable you to just, stay in this. And so some of ours, like one of ours went to an intense rehab program after we cut services off. So, unfortunately, you do see some of them that they, choose to live in an encampment or on the streets or things. Some of them, I will say there's plenty of them that, if they come back at some point after receiving that and they have changed their circumstances in some way, so this particular guest got out of rehab, was on the streets again, we're like, hey, you know what, you made a very valiant effort to change, and so we're gonna give you another shot at this. And so maybe that's not a full 90 days again, maybe that's, hey, we're gonna go look at this week by week, and as long as you're checking in with us, we're gonna keep doing this. Or, it's hard because it's not a one size fits all. It's just looking at each individual thing and trying to make sure that we are truthfully in being the community of hope, that we're truly sticking to things that drive that hope factor, that we're truly working with individuals that are trying to improve their circumstances and work and move forward. So.
And I'm sure volunteers is a need of yours.
Oh,
correct?
yes.
That's probably
Yes.
other money and volunteers are the
Yes.
biggest, yes.
All right, and if anybody wants to be a volunteer, what's the process?
Come talk to me.
She just did a
Yes.
training last week?
So I do the trainings for volunteer, and then we have, opportunities to help in, serving lunches or various other things like that. But yeah, they can always reach out to us. I do most of the trainings and things. I'm happy to get people connected wherever they want, but yeah.
So we got quite a few people in the audience.
Exactly.
Volunteer opportunities available.
I got some sign-up geniuses now.
The night shelter is, I work the night shelter once or twice a month, and it's not scary.
No.
It's just
Probably
really
quiet.
not.
No, I encourage people, if you
It's
don't,
very quiet.
yeah, I encourage people, if you are not familiar, if you ever want to come, take a tour and see what it is and what we do, please come check us out. I'll give anybody a tour anytime. It's not, I used to have friends that are like, oh, what you do is scary. And I'm like, no, it's it's entertaining. It's never boring.
You never know what the day will bring.
But yeah, we're happy to show.
So before you leave, do you mind sharing at least 2 success stories? I
Sure.
know one of the guys personally, but do you mind sharing? At least 2
So
success
I
stories?
just told somebody, so we had a news crew out on Monday, and I just told them one of my favorite stories is a woman that stayed with us a couple years ago, and I personally remember being out in the backyard with her, and she was laying out in the grass and didn't want to get up and said she was suicidal. She just was like, I've had enough of this. This was someone who in the past had been a traveling nurse, and I mean, she showed me pictures with celebrities and just very successful in her life. I don't know exactly how she got to the point that she was at, but just very much seeing her at rock bottom, and she has been housed on the VA campus for, I believe, 2 years now. I have lunch with her occasionally, I talk to her on the phone, things like that. And so, seeing people be able to get out of that and live a happy and healthy life housed is, to me, a huge,
Yeah.
that's a motivating factor for us to keep showing up.
We've had several of our guests that have found housing and all, and they are employees.
Yeah, so I actually have, I have 3, that's another great one. I have 3 staff members that are all former guests. I have one right now that, I knew towards her move out, so she's with, I don't know if I'm supposed to say it or not, whatever, she's with Martha's Vineyard. And so, towards the time that she was getting housed, I'm like, when you get out of here, I would really like to have you on as staff. I think you'd be amazing. And so I gave her a shot, and she is, she's been a tremendous help. She has done so well.
They really have a rapport with the other homeless and have a heart for that. They've been there, they know that.
And so I've even told her, I'm like, if I move into the executive director spot, I will train you to take over my position. I love to see them thrive. So it's been, those are
Always
probably
love
2 of
it.
my favorite.
When you guys announce on Facebook that someone's moving out of the shelter and needs things for their home.
I got one of those coming up.
Oh, you do? Good.
Next week.
Good, because that means that you're doing your
Yes.
job and they're becoming
No, and that's the thing, I think, yeah, we got 46 housed last year. And
great.
so, but I will say with that, and that's a huge advocacy point for us, is that homelessness is largely on, you know, from our vantage point and from data, is a housing issue. There's a major lack of affordable housing.
A lot of these
You know,
families.
so many, yes, the families, so many of our people are just sitting on waiting lists, just waiting for the opportunity, and that makes it difficult because, you know, we hit a point of, you can't hold on to everybody forever, you know, but at the same time, if there's nowhere to send you, we don't like to send anybody out without options either, so.
As far as housing goes,
Uh-huh.
do y'all, coordinate with the, what's it?
Attainable.
Yes.
Sustainable.
Very much so. So actually, our founder, Sister
I
Vicki
know, Sister
Perkins,
Vicki,
is,
thank
yes,
you for
also made Leavenworth Attainable Housing. So now Sister
Yeah.
Amy Wilcott runs that, and with Chris Leach, and they're in our building very regularly. So they're actually working with, they've housed several of our guests over time. We work very closely with them.
They just need
So.
more housing to be
Yeah.
able to move people
well,
into.
No, I mean, that's the awesome thing, like I said, the community partnerships, because, I mean, just like, we said previously, is like, you know, collaboration, that community aspect, it does take a village, and that's what we're seeing for our guests, that we have the most success when we're able to come together, and, you know, like I said, we have the guidance center in the building, we've got Heartland Radac, so they're helping with substance abuse thing, guidance center is able to help with, they have, housing specialists, they have people that can connect them with jobs, they have the ACT team, so they can help with people in crisis. They run guiding lights, so if I have somebody, they're the crisis stabilization center, so if I have somebody that's really then that's a place that I can utilize to take, you know, someone there and kind of help get stabilized, help with meds and things like that. And so all these places were kind of working together going, you know, do you have housing options? What do you have for veterans? What do you have for this? What is, you know, we're always looking for options, even, you know, even private landlords and stuff, have a list of those, so.
Any other questions?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you
That's
both.
perfect.
Thank you, guys.
Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Right, LV.
So just a reminder to the commission, we do have 3 possible low-income housing projects active in the city that either have or are going to apply for low-income housing tax credits.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
that's awesome.
Working on that solution to that problem as we speak, so.
Hi,
Awesome.
how are you?
Doing good, how are you?
Good.
Nancy, are you gonna sit over there?
Yeah.
Sit over there, no. No, I didn't even go to the last meeting. They scheduled it when I had a doctor's appointment, so I didn't get to go.
Oh, well, we're about to schedule another one, so.
Good, I want to be the next one.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us here today. I have with me Tyler and Steve from the Guidance Center. As you guys know, the Guidance Center runs the day-to-day operations of Ride LV, so they have some information gathered about how that's been going and a little bit of data and statistics to share with you guys.
Good.
Well, it's good to see everyone. Thank you for your time. We know that it's been sounds like a long day, so we appreciate the opportunity to come and share some information. As she mentioned, this is Tyler Darrow, and I'm privileged to work with this guy. He's, March? Came to the Guidance Center early in March.
31st.
Yeah, as a transportation director, and I know that it was important to you, Commissioner Bowder, last time that I came, of like some data on what Ride LV has been doing, and Tyler, we're excited to have in this position. He's done a lot of great things, but I'll let him talk a little bit about that, so I'll turn it over to you.
Absolutely. Doing great things, not necessarily me. The Ride LV team is doing great things. The data reflects that pretty well, I believe. I'm kind of a what are you doing for me lately kind of person, so this data is all pretty recent stuff. Next time I would love to get into the weeds and do like a year-to-date kind of background, but as of right now, this is what we're doing the last couple weeks really. So we average about 250 rides per week. We do that with 3 drivers, so they are staying pretty dang busy. One of the vehicles is wheelchair accessible with a full lift, all of that good stuff. So yeah, that's what that slide is showing you right there. Basically, on a slow week, 224 rides. Sometimes we get into the 300s. With that summertime, a little bit busier than usual. So this next one is kind of basically just passenger reports. So we have 258 completed rides, and I'm going to talk about a little bit of the things the program has. So on these statistics, abandoned rides means we screwed up, right? Our driver showed up 30 minutes late, whatever, there was a super bad delay. And if you look at the abandoned rides all the way to the right, see a lot of zeros on the board, so I really appreciate that out of my guys. There was one bad day where we had 7. Our computers crashed, which is what we use to run the program. So kind of hard to give rides if we don't know where they're at. So other than one bad day, we throw a lot of zeros on the board for that. So if somebody asks for a ride, we do a pretty good job of getting them to them. And then the next one to the left of that is rides canceled. So these are the percentage of rides where, say, somebody books a ride and then they back out of it. I guess I don't need a ride anymore. There is penalties for that. You know, you can cancel rides a certain amount of times, but after, say, 7 in like a week, the system automatically shuts you off and puts you on kind of like a probationary period. That's not something we set up. So we use a system called the RideCo system. It's based out of Canada. All the programming comes from them. That's something that they developed. So that way there's a lack of time wasted. And then the next category over there is called ride no-shows. So that one is where we show up, you booked a ride, and you're nowhere to be found. So we love to see that number lower than 20 is typically a pretty good week. So that's just kind of where we're at with that one.
Because you show up pretty quickly, right?
Yes, so it is our obligation to give a 15-minute window before and after whatever time you booked for. So say you booked at 10 o'clock in the morning, we'll be there between 9:45 and 10:15.
Okay.
Yep. All right, so this one is how the riders are getting their rides booked. So we do have a young dispatcher, Michaela. She's kind of our call center person. She can book rides. We've been advised by the RideCo program to try to push as many people to book online as possible, just so that it takes it out of our hands. And if something gets messed up, hey, you punched it in wrong, you know what I mean? But she does a pretty good job of that. So 21% of our rides are typically that call center stuff right there. So we are at 80% as far as people getting on the app, looking for themselves.
That's good.
So we ideally would like to be at 9 to 10, but we're pretty close, so pretty proud of that. And so this one is probably my favorite one I brought to you guys. This is our top destinations and pickup locations. So this is where people are going, right? So we have Walmart. It says 100 up there, but if you look a couple rows down, you'll see 5000 10th Avenue. That's also Walmart. So really it's 100 there. So I don't know why the system did that, but that's how it worked out. The VA is our next biggest one, and part of that is because we have a program that's set up with the VA where they pay for a certain percentage of rides, where say you don't have the money, cool. The veterans, the VTC program is what it's called. They pay up to $2 for them. We have a couple other programs that do that as well, like Grocery Getters. They actually went bankrupt and went out of business. However, they dropped us like a $3,000 check, so we're still using that. They give us a list of riders who are eligible for that, so not everybody's just saying, hey, I'm with Grocery Getters and getting free rides.
That's good.
And then Hallmark is up there. So that's one.
Is that for jobs? They're going to,
Exactly, Hallmark.
so they're using it for,
Yeah,
to work.
and that's something that I think we could maybe do a better job if we adjusted our hours a little bit. We typically run between 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So I think the 7 a.m. is cool. It's great for getting people to work. We only have one driver that does that, though. So we have 3 vehicles. The other 2 run from 8 to 5. The first guy runs from 7 to 4.
So is he pretty busy then?
He is, and you know, they're not all going to Hallmark. There's people that are going clear to this side of town and then over there, you know what I mean? So
this is 1 week? If I'm looking at our year.
No, this is a month. So
Oh,
this
month,
is, this
okay.
is a month of statistics right
Oh,
here,
okay.
yeah. I don't know why it breaks it up like that, but that's the RideCo thing.
The library's on there too.
What about Fort Leavenworth?
So we do not go to Fort Leavenworth, we do not go to Lansing outside of one chiropractor. There's a certain chiropractor that they've approved us to drive to.
Gotcha.
So
So somebody can use it if they come off the post.
Absolutely. And it's the same thing, so like Eisenhower's a big deal. Everybody, Lansing wants to claim Eisenhower, Leavenworth wants to claim Eisenhower.
We
If
got
you're
it.
on the wrong side of Eisenhower, our app will not let you book a ride.
Oh, wow.
So what we've seen people do is,
Across the
hey,
street.
and that could be why Hallmark is kind of screwed right there.
Yeah.
I wonder if
pickup
people,
point.
if they're walking to Hallmark because it's right there off Eisenhower. So that is one limitation that kind of drives me wild. It's like, it's right there, why can't we just grab it? But
Yeah,
part of the system.
well, it's part of our,
So when you say
Taxing system
McDonald's,
as
do you
well.
just drop them off at McDonald's and come back and get them, or do you go to the drive-through?
Oh, no.
Just drop them off, that's where they wanna go?
Yep, if that's where they would like to.
That's-
So I try to get out at least once a month and do a ride along. I just
Yeah.
like to be out with the guys and see how it's going, get some eyes on the streets. So I've seen McDonald's workers ride with us.
Oh, yeah.
So it could be jobs, it could be,
Awesome.
hey, I am hungry, whatever it is, we'll get you there for $2.
I
So,
love it. Okay.
this next slide is the types of payment that we can use. So cash is king, primarily 98 of the riders last week used cash, right? 73 used a credit card when they booked online on the app. So just because you book on the app does not mean you have to pay on the app. So you can still come and do cash. And then that far right category over there is the programs I mentioned, where it's grocery getters, the VTC, stuff like that. And then these are our driver reviews. I kept the driver names out of it, but, you know,
equipment fund back.
yeah, I had to delete a lot of thank yous. That seems to be the number one comment, a lot of thank yous. And we did a Touch a Truck event here at the community center a while back and got a lot of positive compliments from people walking around looking at the vehicles. So I do think we're doing a good job. I think it's pretty positive support for the most part.
I love that, he's the man.
Man, the legend, yeah.
Absolutely.
That's interesting.
Perfect.
So what would you like to see happen next? Like, if you could have a wish list of things that you'd want LV Ride to do in the future, what would it be?
Realistically, I like where our program's at, stature and size wise. Definitely not afraid to grow by any means, but where we're at, we're holding pretty strong. Feels like we're kind of in our little niche. What I say, maybe community involvement a little bit. That Touch a Truck thing was cool. It was really good. Got everybody involved. Let us see the community appreciating us, right? And you know, the drivers love doing it too. They love hanging out and
That's
seeing
cool.
people and putting smiles on faces. And you know, also when we're doing that kind of thing, we get to plug the guidance center a little bit too. So that kind of a tag team deal. So I really, whatever we could do to get more involvement, I would love to do that.
What are you hearing from Lansing these days?
Nothing good, nothing bad.
I haven't heard
We're just
anything
kind of
either.
hanging out. We have
I know they put in applications and stuff too.
Yeah,
But
it
it
was
takes
one-
such a long time. It took a long time here.
It was one of those things, they didn't want to join the party when the party started, and now
That's right.
all of a sudden they're
That's
successful,
right.
and yeah, here we are, so.
Yep. So we'll just let you do it and see if you can get it going. And it would have been a lot easier if they had jumped in the beginning.
Absolutely. The red vans wouldn't have looked as cool though.
Fair. Do you think that, I guess for me, it was interesting, so many people use it to get to work.
Yeah. That's where I saw the biggest room for improvement.
Right,
there.
that's what I was gonna say. I'd love to see it start a little earlier and go a little later
Yeah.
as a kind of a goal.
So do we have yet stats on who goes to work and who goes to shop and who goes to do other things? Who goes to the doctor? Is there any way to do that in your
So-
system now?
The system does not have that, and one thing that somebody brought up in previous meetings was age statistics. Hey, are we seeing elderly, young people, who's
Yeah,
riding?
you brought that up
Right,
last time too.
Obviously, without getting people's privacy, the app can't access that kind of information. So a way we're trying to work around that is maybe we give one free ride if you do a survey for us, something like that.
Yeah.
So that way we're not breaching any privacy, but we're still getting the information to figure out who's riding with us, why do they like riding with us, why do they hate riding with us, whatever it is. So that's something we're working on.
Well, this is the third year of the pilot, so I don't know what we have to do to continue getting grants to cover this. But I don't know what kind of information we need to be able to do that. So that's something that we need to look into, I guess, for.
I believe we have the city's portion in the Economic Development Fund. Is that right, Penny?
That's correct. I think there's somewhere around
continue that.
$90,000 in economic development for the Right of View program annually.
Okay, that's our part.
That's-
It's,
yeah.
That's our portion.
that's been, but we were like 10% of what we were paying. That's 10%. So are we gonna, is KDOT helping us with the rest of it though? That's what I'm wondering, next year's.
So the original was 70% KDOT.
I'm sorry, 70%.
70-30, so.
Yeah. Still, that's a lot, that's a lot.
It seems we need to do some follow-up and get back with you on that. So
Yeah.
we'll figure out what the future looks like.
Yeah.
Partnering in that
Yeah.
advocacy too, to make sure that those things continue. I love your comments about community partnership and that advocacy to make sure that these things continue will be vital.
Yeah.
We appreciate the partnership in this. I mean, and I know this group
We do
knows
too.
it very, very well. But transportation being a barrier to care, to employment, to all of that. It takes that partnership to make sure that we can address that. I really like the direction that Tyler's got, the transportation program going. And I love the comments about, adjusting our hours to meet the needs of those that we serve. And I think at the Guidance Center in general, we're doing that. We're looking at ways to be more accessible and focusing in on that. But to the point on this data too, internally at the Guidance Center, we're making a lot of adjustments to gather a lot more data. Not to be burdensome to people that access care for us or transportation or whatever it may be.
Right.
But that's the data, those are the things that we need to make sure that our return on investment as community partners, you all want to see that, right?
Yep.
And we want to demonstrate that. So we're working pretty hard to shift that through a lot of different means. I won't bore you with all those details, but it's going to be something that we want to continue to come back and give you even more specific data to a level that we're capable of. So we look forward to that.
Sounds
So,
good.
Yeah.
Well, I hear a lot of good comments. I haven't ridden lately, so I'll take a, last time I rode, they asked me if I was testing them, so I said no. No.
Maybe.
The driver asked me that, but no, yeah, maybe. No, I just wanted to see how, I needed to ride, that's why I took it, but also I wanted to see how they were doing.
For sure.
I will say, we have a lot more data than what I provided, so if there's something specific any of you guys would like to see, please feel
Good.
free to reach out. Kim can reach me.
Okay, that's great.
Absolutely.
That's great. We appreciate you guys coming tonight.
Yeah.
And I'd just like to take the opportunity again, Tyler and his team have done a tremendous job. They're incredible assets to our organization. So we appreciate everything that they do for the community. One last thing, not Ride LV related, but I did want to take the opportunity. I sent emails to everyone here. I've got flyers, just in case you're like, what email is he
the town
talking
hall.
about?
Yeah.
There's a legislative town hall that's going to be hosted here in Leavenworth at the Riverfront Community Center on Thursday, July 31st, from 5:30 to 7. You only have to listen to me for a few minutes, talk about the Guidance Center. But ultimately, and I know we've talked about this before, the transition from solely a community mental health center to a certified community behavioral health clinic was a big thing in Kansas. Our Association of Community Mental Health Centers of Kansas is really the star of that show. And really what it's for is to inform communities, local elected officials, school staff, medical community, everybody about the impact that we're seeing with this program in the state of Kansas. So they commissioned a study. They're going to come in and they're going to provide some of that data that's being that was collected to really demonstrate that while it's new in our state and it's new to the Guidance Center, only a couple years into this, the return on investment is pretty significant. So if you have the opportunity or the ability to make it and come listen to some of that, we would love to have you. So I'll leave these flyers here in case you didn't get that email. But yeah, we hope to see you there. But we appreciate the opportunity to come and see you all.
One final thought is perhaps you guys could participate in somehow Camp Leavenworth with your vehicles.
Yeah.
Maybe we can work you guys in somehow.
Convert it into a food truck for the night.
Love how you're thinking outside the box.
Quick question, what kind of a response are you getting on that, what's called, that, on the 22nd of July?
I would love to tell you, Bess Bonowitz went on vacation, and she's the one that's got all that data. So I'm waiting for her to get back tomorrow to figure that out. I've had quite a few people respond directly to my email, which is great. But I think the majority are probably using that QR code, so. But overall, I would say there are probably about 50 or 60 people that were invited from Jefferson County, Leavenworth County, and Atchison County. So we're trying to get as many people there as possible. So I'd really like to have a turnout greater than some of these other CCBHCs in the state of Kansas. I'd like that report to say, hey, the Guidance Center exceeded 50 people. So if you can help us do that, that'd be great. But it's really great information about what's going on in the state regarding behavioral health care. So we're proud to be a part of that.
Thank you guys.
Thank
so
you, guys.
much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Good night.
All right, next up is proposal of
we'll pass them
membership
around,
for
thanks.
the Local 64. Wow,
A certain time.
you guys look sharp.
They dressed up more tonight.
Well, and then there's Chris.
One of them didn't get the memo, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I did
You
give
do
you a second.
yours.
I wasn't sure, so I brought handouts for you guys.
Okay.
Awesome.
Firefighter ed, right?
Firefighter red folder.
I'm sure that's just a coincidence, right, Griff?
Yeah, I think it totally is, yeah.
Whenever you're ready to begin, we're ready for you.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council, City Manager, staff. My name's Kerry Eldridge, and I'm the business manager for IFF Local 64. With me is Leavenworth City local business agent Mike Minard and the Kansas State Council of Firefighters Chris Wing. One point of clarification on the agenda for tonight, it lists present the proposal to join the IFF Local 64 union. With that, the firefighters have a constitutional right to assemble, full freedom of association, which is further codified in 29 USC 151. This request from us is for formal recognition by the city to recognize the Leavenworth City firefighters and Local 64 as the representative.
Okay, thank you.
So this is seen, I don't know if you can go to the main.
Okay.
And then make it the presentation view.
Slideshow.
Go to slideshow.
Slideshow.
I'm looking for it.
Left.
102 over to the left. Up. Right.
Right. Keep going.
Keep going. You're almost there.
Oh,
There it is. And then from beginning.
From beginning.
There we go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So this is seen through strengthening public safety through partnership. You go to the next one. Local 64 has had membership with Leavenworth Fire Department for well over 20 years. Currently, we have more than 30 members. At the request of the city, we held a petition where 44 of the 46, or 96% of the eligible firefighters, signed in overwhelming support of recognition. Recognition enhances morale, operational efficiency, and overall public safety by providing stability, structure, and accountability. All this is accomplished without fiscal disruption to the city. Some of the highlights about our Leavenworth Fire Department: there's 3 fire stations across the city that provide comprehensive services to include responding to fire suppression calls, EMS, hazardous materials, and technical rescue. They're staffed with 46 firefighters, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week on a 48-96 schedule, and they respond to approximately 3,500 calls per year. They also provide community programs to include fire prevention and inspections, and our department is actively engaged in the community through school events, station tours, and safety demonstrations. A little bit about the IFF. Our organization was founded in 1918 to advocate for firefighter safety, where Local 64 was one of the original charter members 107 years ago. Our membership has continued to grow year over year, and we currently have approximately 350,000 members across the United States and Canada at 3,500 affiliate locals. Local 64 is technically based out of Kansas City, but we represent 11 total departments throughout the state of Kansas. Roughly 600, just shy of 600 total members. For the firefighters, benefits of the IAFF include safety with NFPA standards, innovative equipment and gear, operational efficiencies and best practices, and then research conducted in conjunction with organizations like the National Institute for Science and Technology. For health and wellness, cancer research and networks to include PFAS litigation, where the IAFF is actually partnering with municipalities to secure replacement gear for the PFAS that's inside the gear, forever chemicals. I can go into that later. Women's health, birth defects, and death benefits. The IAFF also established a Center of Excellence in Maryland, and they're expanding a location in California as well. And these centers work exclusively with IAFF members to address behavioral health and substance abuse issues. There's also firefighter-specific training to include hazardous materials and other significant leadership and development opportunities available. A few of the benefits to the city include resources and grants. The IAFF has a GIS department that can assist with mapping. It's my understanding you guys have that as well. We also have grant assistance, which is here local, so we have very good access to that individual as well. Recognized departments show lower injury rates. A 2021 academic study found that states with expanded collective bargaining rights for firefighters had fewer firefighter fatalities. And a recent report from the U.S. Department of Labor identified unionized workplaces as having less traumatic injuries and fatalities, along with better health and safety practices. Money saved by the city through training opportunities and equipment standards. The hazmat class is a great example of that. And the IAFF advocates for improved conditions, policies, and benefits that can contribute to improved retention rates, where the healthiest workplaces are those in which employees are valued, respected, and feel that they share values throughout the organization. Through collective bargaining, employees know their voice is heard and they are partners in the collaborative decision-making process. Improved labor relations occur when you have a structured environment to discuss workplace issues and terms and conditions of employment through collaboration and mutual respect. Recognition, what does it mean? It goes back to the first clarification. It's not radical, it simply formalizes a process for collaboration and communication. It provides a framework for professional standards, safety assurances, and operational efficiencies. Some of the topics include safety and equipment, labor management, a clearly defined grievance procedure, and other terms and conditions of employment. Recognition would also define the bargaining unit, which would include firefighters, driver operators, and captains. It's not an automatic increase to wages or associated costs. Some of the current challenges Leavenworth Fire Department is facing is recruitment and retention. We want to recruit the best possible candidates from a larger pool, and we want to retain those firefighters for the length of their careers. This one aspect helps experienced employees making impacts for years, and it also saves the city money through hiring, training, outfitting, and all of the other benefits of long-term experienced employees. Along those lines, morale is shown to be higher within departments that are recognized and have a contract. And having established safety and equipment committees gives the employee a voice along with buy-in to improve operational efficiency and overall safety. Not just the safety of the firefighters, but the overall safety of the community when the firefighters are well-trained and equipped to do their jobs to the best of their abilities. Clear and consistent grievance procedures are good governance. It allows the firefighters to know how to work through a grievance process and what to expect, It helps the city by having a standardized process to minimize exposure to litigation. It not only increases transparency, but it establishes clear and consistent processes. These challenges hurt public safety and efficiency. Recognition can address these issues through structured dialogue and shared responsibility. Why recognition benefits Leavenworth firefighters? Equal application of the rules that are clear and consistent with due process protections and just cause. Maintaining local control creates the buy-in and it promotes workplace efficiencies, along with input on operations for firefighters doing the work to be able to communicate those things that are working and things that are not. Firefighters are public safety advocates, experts that are committed to delivering the highest quality of fire and EMS service to our community and its citizens. Recognition is not about outside interference. It's about empowering the local professionals to partner with leadership and administration. What are the benefits to the city? Increased workforce stability through better recruitment and retention. A Cornell study on public sector collective bargaining found that cooperation results in improvements in both the delivery of public service and the quality of work life. Structured communication through representatives, transparent labor practices that establish clarity and consistency, and fiscal planning and support through contract application, and improved public safety for the firefighters and ultimately the community as a whole. A study in the American Journal of Public Health identified that collective bargaining contracts promote public health. Recognition is just good governance. It strengthens the department without harming the budget. So the common fear is cost. Local 64 has a track record of responsible bargaining and fiscal awareness. From Leavenworth County EMS to Chanute to Forbes Air Force Base, which Local 64 represents all of those, all of our contracts are fiscally responsible. The bottom line, if there's no city of Leavenworth, there's no Leavenworth Fire Department, and we want the city to be successful. Collective bargaining provides a process and a voice, not an outcome. With that said, there's two options for recognition. The first is PIRA, where the city would go under the state statute and all departments would be impacted, not just the firefighters. Option two is a home rule ordinance. This is fully custom and it can apply just to the firefighters or it can be open to all defined groups. However, you would want to set that up.
And that's what the county does?
That's what the county does, yeah. Recognition is legal, common, and flexible. Both options allow you to keep control in local hands. So just briefly on PIRA, the purpose of the act was to enter into discussions with affirmative willingness to resolve grievances and disputes related to conditions of employment and to promote the improvement of employer-employee relationships. And under PIRA, KSA 75-4325, management rights are not affected. You can see they're specifically listed out there. So, option two would be the home rule ordinance under the Kansas Constitution. And this option, again, is fully customizable. It typically aligns with the PIRA statute to define terms, cover discussion, scope, and procedure. Both parties agree to not take job actions like strikes, and it defines prohibited practices. This would be similar to Leavenworth County's ordinance in the city of Lawrence. Leavenworth County was under PIRA. They came out from under PIRA and carved out EMS as the only group in their ordinance. Lawrence, on the other hand, they break all eligible and appropriate city employees into 4 groups, and then they bargain with all 4 groups individually. And I do have copies of those ordinances in the back of the handouts after, and you can look at those. So we're not here to break anything, we're here to build. You have our commitment to partnership through collaboration and problem solving. I've shown some of the fiscal benefits and we both carry that responsibility. Recognition provides improved public safety for both the safety of the firefighters and their ability to protect the public. And lastly, it's a unified voice of the firefighters as a group. So this is the ask. On behalf of the Leavenworth firefighters and Local 64, we respectfully request the City Council acknowledge the result of the majority unit, formally recognize the appropriate unit and Local 64 as a representative to develop our first contract with a focus on shared priorities, and work together for a safer, stronger future by building lasting partnerships and committing to ongoing dialogue for continuous improvement. Our city has the opportunity to lead on public safety, recognizing the firefighters and Local 64 as a vote for safety and stability, and let's do this right together. With that, that concludes the presentation, and I would open it to any dialogue or questions I'm sure you definitely have.
Definitely.
Question.
How many firefighters are currently in the Local 64? Or are members?
Local 64 total or?
For Leavenworth, sorry.
Leavenworth City.
They're paying dues at
Paying
this
dues,
time.
yeah.
Current
30.
number is down to 28. We lost a couple to another department. So that were due paying members within the last month, so.
I have a question about Pura versus local, home rule. Why did Leavenworth County go out of Pura and go with home rule?
I can't speak directly to it because that was back in 2003-ish.
Okay.
I know there was some litigation with some of the other groups that were involved, and Local 64 was one of the groups that they didn't have issues with, and that's why they were carved out.
Okay.
But I can get you in contact with somebody that was around that time frame if you'd like.
I was just curious as to why they went. Which way is better for you all, and why did they go with home rule?
Well, for us, it's fairly similar on what you would decide. For you, if you go under PIRA, like I said, you're under PIRA for every collective bargaining union that you have. For a home rule ordinance, you can kind of pick and choose. So
Okay. Oh, I got you.
you have
Okay,
the ability
you did
to
say that,
carve
yes.
out the firefighters, but you also have the ability to do like the city of Lawrence
I
does,
see.
to where you group the individuals and bargain with them individually.
Okay, thank you. I think you did say that, sorry.
So how many other cities have the home rule, do you know, that you're part of?
That we're part of?
Yeah, or in general, I suppose.
That's it. Chanute is under PIRA as well.
Okay.
Questions?
Are you guys firefighters?
Yes.
Yeah.
Where?
I work for Kansas
He's
City.
here.
He's here.
I'm a captain on the fire department.
Yeah, I thought I recognized your face.
I've seen your, yeah. So,
And you?
I'm in Kansas City as well.
Just curious.
So what made you join the union?
what
If you
made
don't
me
mind me
join the
asking.
union? No, that's fine. Obviously, we weren't recognized, but what the union does at the state and federal levels to promote and represent us for firefighter safety, retirement benefits, and also to have legal representation if needed. Those are all perks for me individually. I felt it was a good cause support since it directly affected me and my well-being and retirement. So, as we've went through the years, and I've been here 20 years with the city, and through ups and downs, a lot of turnover, things I've seen, it just really enforced my reason to become. It's a lot of turnover, a lot of retention, the issues that we've had. It's always felt like that when our members ask or have a concern, we send it up to chain of command, and it's previous administrations, it's maybe not always been their highest priority. Obviously, I don't know all their priorities. Running the city is got a lot of issues, and so I just felt that this is our best way, the membership and myself, that are members of the fire department felt this was the best path moving forward. So we have that voice, we have those avenues to address needs and issues as they come up, so we don't reach a critical point where we have a mass exodus of individuals. And that's really the main driving force. I put the question to our membership, why do we want to be recognized and be a collective bargaining entity? And I have them, and there were 6 of them, and every one of them cover recruitment and retention, a collective voice to express our current concerns, needs, and feedback to management. Gives us a platform to address workplace issues without fear of retaliation, ensures fair and equitable working conditions, including transparent promotional processes and discipline on disciplinary matters. Safety is a big concern for us with the high turnover. It disrupts the teamwork and cohesiveness amongst the personnel. It's also a loss of institutional knowledge and experience, and it increases the workload on the remaining firefighters that are there, because the more senior guys were taking the junior guys under our wing, and we're constantly training them, which takes us away from doing more, maybe focusing more on the basics than more advanced techniques initially. So it's kind of hindered us in that department as well, because we have multiple things we have to do throughout the year that take time out of our day, through business inspections, fire hydrant maintenance, and things like that. And then you throw on training with the new hires and new hire academies and stuff. So all that just takes in. And really, I mean, a firefighter, it takes them a good couple of years to really get their feet under them. And we've lost, that's the group we've lost here recently, the 2 to 6 year guys. 2019 to early 2022, we had an accident. We lost captains, drivers, 2 other departments. They just didn't see a future with the city. They didn't feel it was a priority to the city leadership to address our issues. So we took a vote at that time to start pursuing this avenue. We elected some people to represent us in that case. We were still voted to stay under 64 as the main union, that we'd just be under their umbrella. And so this process has been ongoing, and meeting with everybody individually, myself, going around talking to the guys, having meetings and stuff with the shifts, and the guys have signed up to become due-paying members because they believe that this is the right path forward for our department.
And so tell me about the vote you took.
In 2019?
No, the one that you just were listed here.
After our earlier meeting, it was brought up that the city would like to know how many employees of the fire department want to continue down this path. So the question was put to them: do you want to be recognized as a bargaining unit, and do you want 64 to represent us? And then that was the results of that vote to the question. We had a meeting. Carrie, JJ, Chris, some other personnel from KCK, they were all there to answer any more intricate questions that guys had about union membership and stuff like that. So, and those were the results that came out of those meetings.
I appreciate it. How long have you been a union member?
15 out of my 20 years, maybe around there. So,
thanks for sharing.
And you've said it before, but how many cities are under the 64 jurisdiction? How many times?
We represent 11 different departments
11, okay.
throughout the state, all the way from Kansas City is the farthest east, Garden City is the farthest west, Chanute, Iola, Parsons, Leawood, the office of the state fire marshals, Topeka, Ford's Air Force Base, and Edwardsville, and Leavenworth EMS. Yeah, other than those two.
I have a question. So as far as the city, well, our city, from our city point of view, you know, we've got budgets that are some years a lot better than others, a lot more lucrative than others. And just like a few years ago, you know, we had all this extra money so we were able to give very large raises to our departments through, you know, all the COVID money. And so if there was a contract with the city, I don't know if that's the right word, if it's a contract with the city, then we would not be able to do that, right?
Not necessarily.
You have
The
to follow the
contract sets
contract,
the
right?
floor. It sets the floor, not the ceiling.
Okay.
So you can go above that.
On the other hand, if we didn't have enough money to pay everybody raises, then we can't, it wouldn't be fair to pay raises for you and for our firefighters and not for anybody else.
And from our meeting on Friday, Matt from Junction City, he
Yeah.
said they ran into that when the first division left. And the city came to him, the city requested to open up the contract, and they sat down and they talked about it. The city was in a pinch. They came to the union's like, yeah.
Well, that's drastic. I mean,
Yes.
that's like your whole town
Yeah,
blowing away
yes.
like Greensburg, you know?
But,
I
yeah,
mean,
it would be
that's
the same
different.
case if
Yeah.
budget times came tough and and the city leadership came and said we'd request to open it, then we'd sit down and negotiate those things.
And the contracts can be different terms as
Yes.
well. So 1 year versus 3 years, and it doesn't have to, it wouldn't necessarily go over a 3-year projection of salaries. It's not like, I mean, you're not taking money away from them right now, right? I mean, that dollar amount is set, I'm assuming.
Yes, we have a structured pay plan.
Right,
in place,
so it
yes.
wouldn't necessarily be any different than that, and Leavenworth County is very similar in that aspect as
Okay.
well.
Thank you.
Are the guys behind you all firefighters?
Yes.
I believe so.
Thanks for coming.
And I appreciate, being in the presence of guys that are saving others' lives, it's something I definitely appreciate. Captain, some of your comments about the Leavenworth Fire Department do bother me a little bit. It sounds like there's some, pretty major things you brought up there in your list. On a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being, this is a great, department, we're doing everything right, and 1's like, we can't function this way. Where do you rate Leavenworth right now?
With the inexperience that we have and stuff, I'd rise as 6 or 7, just due to mainly inexperience. The administration part, I think we work fine in. There's some minor things, like I said, more transparency and promotional hiring processes and stuff like that. We just really like just having that voice, developing that partnership with our city leadership and the department leadership.
So Scott, what's the involvement from Leavenworth, the actual department side versus HR in the city? How does that function? You talked about transparency. There's something with the hiring process and promotion process that you don't like today. How much of that do you guys control as a department? How much do we control from the HR department?
I guess we need to clarify what the issue is.
That is responses I've got from membership. That could be of various reasons. I'd be more than happy to do some more research and talk to you offline at another time to go over the specifics if that works.
Sure. No, I'm totally good.
But I can't speak to that individual's thought processes or reasons behind his statement. I just wanted to put out, these are the responses I got when I put the question to our personnel.
Okay, because that's a pretty, if you're experiencing that, I don't know who else is experiencing that, at the city. And that's a pretty big deal. So
Sure. And, this is some things, this is a way for us to address those issues, be proactive before they reach a critical point and people just pursue other options outside the city. And to speak on that, I still keep in contact with quite a few members that have left our department to other departments. And the big issue back in 2019 was the pay. That was the big issue. So that's why they left. But they said if the pay plan would have been in place prior to that, they would still be here with our department. That's verbatim, almost to the man. That's what that was their comments.
Sure.
So by doing this, we're able to be more interactive, get on top of those issues and address these issues in a timely manner so they don't reach the point where morale tanks and guys just don't see a future working here anymore.
Sure, no, and I appreciate that. I guess, one of my thoughts is with what you outlined, how much, if it's not been addressed before or it's been addressed poorly, how much could we address, from a proactive standpoint, right, Scott? To see, okay, if these are true concerns, how do we, and I don't doubt they are, what could we do? I mean, transparency and hiring practices and promotion, how we resolve that, those are fixable things that we can do as a city. So, would you agree, Scott?
Absolutely. And for what it's worth, those concerns have never been brought to my office.
No, but that's why, we need to have those questions, answered.
But to agree with you, Commissioner Martin, no issue that I've heard here today, in my opinion, needs to be solved through a union.
Right.
Those things can all be solved through, many of them are already actually in place through our city policies.
Mm-hmm.
So now if it's an enforcement issue or whatever, or we need to go back and look at our practices.
Yeah, and I know Chief's been wanting to get, a couple, one or two other training officers, in place for a while now. Not been his call, though we haven't given the green light on it, but, that would be my, stance, and I appreciate you guys explaining everything tonight, but if we didn't know about it, or, if we're not addressing them, then, it's going complete option of union to address something we could do now. It seems, I don't know.
Absolutely. So I think the one thing that I understand the movement here and the push for it. The one thing I kind of bristle at that has been said several times in these meetings is that there's no voice at the table for our firefighters. And I just wholeheartedly disagree with that. Any of these gentlemen here in the back can walk into my office any day and come talk to me if they've got an issue.
Did they know that until tonight?
I hope they do. I have told that to our department heads that
Didn't know that.
you guys are welcome to come in anytime.
But see, they're saying they did know that. And so I love that you're saying that, and I think that's very important, but they didn't know that.
I'll also say it's not necessarily about the management right now, or
No.
you guys, or the fire chief.
Right.
The fire chief, city managers, no disrespect, but in our eyes, they go like this all the time.
Sure.
Sometimes you have good fire chiefs, sometimes you have bad fire chiefs. Sometimes you have good city councils, sometimes you have bad city councils.
But the same could be said about union representation.
It could be, but the membership could vote us out, if so.
City commission can fire the city manager.
We're not proposing that today.
I know. I'm just, my point here is, and I'm not trying to be combative, my point here is that to the city commission is that I really think we need to consider what this means for the city. And frankly, I think, first of all, we need to double check that we aren't, if there are genuine concerns from the firefighters, we want to hear those. And we want to make sure that we're.
Yeah, absolutely.
We want to make sure that we're addressing those appropriately. We have those channels in place. Now, maybe we aren't doing a good enough job at the leadership level of identifying those channels for them to come. We have the employee commission, forget what we call it, but employee advisory council, where that's run by HR. Each department has membership. Those are a great place to bring those up. We have my office, Penny's office, always available if people want to talk. I know that firefighters reach out to all of you because you guys direct them towards us, which is great as well.
Yeah.
So, from my perspective, I think you're. This is almost. I know this is from Mike's perspective, Captain's perspective, a couple of decade in the making kind of progress. But from my perspective, it's almost the nuclear option when we haven't tried some other things first. If these issues really are as bad as we claim.
No, I
recall we did a pay plan specific to the fire department about 2 years ago. So we looked to try to address some of those issues just for that department.
Correct. The structured pay plan did address some of those issues and helped out tremendously, and every member
It's still impossible to compete with
Well,
Johnson
no,
County.
and
that-
everybody here
Olathe.
is aware of that. We're not gonna compete with Olathe
Right,
and
yeah.
Overland Parks. But the fact that we have a structured pay plan
Yes.
and you can reconnect that has been very beneficial. To some of the resources that we have within the city, currently at the city. The city council is non-binding, their recommendations are non-binding. Dealing with a union are legally binding conversations. It's not us having just a conversation at a desk. I mean, at the end of the day, you still can make, you have the final say, which that's fine. It's, but this just gives us to have a collective voice, the avenue to pursue those, and when the conclusions are made, they are legally binding, because due to the contract. So that's why, I understand, yes, there's some issues that we can address, but I've been here 20 years, and the issues are the still same issues
No, I
as when
appreciate
walked
that.
in.
Yeah.
So at what point do we just say, you know, the issues, let's try another avenue. Let's work together as a partnership to, you know, make the department as best it can be, and ultimately to the benefit of the citizens. I mean, that's ultimately what we're here to serve, are the citizens. I mean, every one of us got into this profession to serve. I mean, it was a higher calling. You know, we wanted to serve the communities and to help people in their time of need.
How does it hurt the city, Megan, that the contract? How does it hurt us?
Well, for starters, I mean, I would advise our city attorneys to provide that information to you, because, you know, they've dealt with these before and had more experience through it than maybe I myself or Penny have had. But, you know, my understanding, I've looked through Lawrence's, which appears to be the model we're looking at. The grievance procedure is much more intense than ours is. And so you would be providing you would either be providing a separate grievance procedure for specifically the fire department, or if you went PIRA, you'd be theoretically doing it for all of our departments. And so the home rule thing, you talk about, well, you carve out one department. From my perspective, I don't know if I would recommend carving out just one department, right? Because the police department's going to be coming around saying, well, what about us? You know, Public Works, hey, we drive trucks too. You know, and so and that becomes, we have 3 people in our HR department. That becomes overly burdensome. I know the argument is, oh, you don't necessarily have to raise your attorney, or your attorney's fees aren't necessarily going to go up by all this, but we would want our city attorneys to be involved in that, and the legal costs almost certainly, at least initially, would go up significantly. Now, that's maybe a minor consideration for the greater good of the city. I'm just telling you some of the negative impacts that you would have here by doing this. But my main thing is, I still have not heard an argument that this actually improves your Leavenworth firefighters' job here and their quality of service here. Because I think that any of these grievances that I've heard so far, or issues, I think can be handled more quickly and more efficiently through our own system already.
I totally agree. And, you know, and again, no disrespect, Captain, at all, in the last 2 decades you mentioned, we've never been all here together like this before. We've never had Scott. One of the reasons we brought Scott on was because he was more, you know, he's forward-thinking and everything. And I would say, before we think about anything beyond that, if we can address any of those issues you laid out there, Captain, internally, then we need to be able to. And I'll tell you, I've never really told a whole lot of folks this, but when we were looking at, you know, potential new candidates for a city manager, I talked to all the different department heads here, and like, I want to know what's your beef? Like, what do you want? What do you want in somebody? And most folks shared openly some of their thoughts. Couple did not want to talk about it at all, because they obviously felt like they couldn't share anything. So if there's, you know, any sense of, well, we can't say anything because great, there goes our promotion opportunities, or we're going to be on the short list here. I mean, we need to know that for sure. But anything you lined out like that, we got to take a stab at it ourselves internally, because to me, it's almost like, okay, you know, I had a vendor that took forever to ship something last time I ordered, so this time I'm going to, you know, pay $500 to go next day air it just to make sure they don't have a problem again. It's like, well, I mean, we got to look internally first. And Scott, you know, and I don't doubt you, Scott. I mean, if you don't know about some of this stuff, you don't know about it, you know. So I don't know. I mean, that's just my take. I can definitely defer to y'all, but
Can I follow up?
Sure.
Keep talking about handling it internally. We're not saying go handle it externally. We're just saying give our representative the seat at the table to represent his members.
No, I appreciate that. I'm not saying to handle it externally. I'm just saying, as it is right now, handle it.
I can tell you from an employee standpoint, a lot of employees don't feel comfortable even sitting at this desk talking to elected people, let alone HR or department heads. Just speaking firsthand,
appreciate that.
people don't feel comfortable, period. So not to say that any of these guys or gals do or don't, I don't know. But just in the experience that I've seen, people don't feel comfortable talking about that type of stuff. Especially in a state like Kansas where you can fire them at will.
No, I
So
can appreciate that.
this
I
is
can
more of
appreciate
you could look at it as due process as well, from a due process point of view.
So what I heard you say is people don't feel comfortable coming as it stands today.
No, I'm not saying that because I haven't talked to them personally, but I would say vast majority of them probably wouldn't feel comfortable sitting at this desk having this conversation with you guys right now that we're having.
So we have to have another vehicle.
Not to say that's not,
I believe that. Absolutely.
not to say that's 100% because I mean, like I said, I haven't talked to them. But at the end of the day,
Well, it's kind of jumping through the chain of command too, and so you don't want to, have your supervisor on you for going over their head either. I can understand that as a former manager.
Well, again, I would point, we do have the employee council, whatever we call it, I keep getting it wrong, I apologize, but that's what that is there for, is that each department has representatives that they select to go there and bring up some of these issues, and so I think that channel is there. If there is a feeling among one or multiple departments that maybe that is not working the way it needs to work, then let's certainly look at that and address it.
Well, once again, that their decisions are non-binding, and the grievance process has been pared down so much over the years. There's only termination is one thing you can grieve, and I think pay dispute issues is another thing. Other than that, it's basically there to select the employee of the month.
Sure, their decision is non-binding. My point being is, but another role that they serve is to, you mentioned that some employees are not comfortable having those conversations with elected officials, with management. That's their role, is to come to us and to have those conversations.
Correct. But this, like I said, we want to pursue this avenue. Our membership would like to pursue this avenue to move past this, to foster that relationship with leadership and have those guarantees and have that structure and stability, because you won't always be here, I won't always be here, none of the commissioners will be here. So that gives us the stability we need for, as long as that contract is in place. And that's what the memberships want. They want that stability. That's, at the end of the day, we want that.
Stability because they feel like they don't have it today.
Well, we don't. I mean, we can't, if you believe all the studies, all nationwide, multiple studies, it increases recruitment and retention. So that alone increases stability. We don't have the turnover. And that's really the main driving force. We would like to try to keep the guys here as possible. And if this is the way we do it, then that's the way we should pursue it, in my opinion. As a community, this is where I live here in the city, and I'd like to know that we can have some experience, because in 5 years you're going to have potentially a mass retirement of your experience, and we lost so many guys in that time. I think I heard a number the other day. It was 44 guys in the last 12 years that are gone, came and gone, and that's significant. We can't continue that. Eventually, the people that just came on with me and a little before, they're going to retire. They're coming to the end of their careers, and who are we going to replace them with? So if we can't keep them, and if this is what it takes, if this is what the membership feels that it takes to stay and give us that voice, then I would recommend that we pursue that. I think that's responsible in my mind. Yes. To pursue that.
Yeah, I don't want to put you or any other firefighters on the spot, but I definitely would love to hear the concerns. Is there any way that we could do an anonymous survey to get feedback so we can hear directly from individuals on how they feel before we make a final decision?
About the union or about their job
Day-to-day
Their,
job.
yeah, their day-to-day job, yeah.
Well, I feel like.
I just think, because, Mike, I'm sure there's some things that want to be said, but they don't want to jump over the chain of command. They don't want to do that, and I respect that process, but I think there is some things that needs to be addressed, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like there's something that you want to say, but don't want to say.
Not really, sir.
But just even, I mean, I would just feel more comfortable with that process, and not to put you on the spot or have you speak for anybody else.
Yeah.
I would just love to hear concerns from other individuals on how they feel about our current process.
Well, I can reach out to the membership
If that's possible for us.
and
yeah.
ask the business manager and reach out to them and have them submit surveys or whatever you want to do, anonymous if that's that way.
Yeah, I think, because there are two, Captain, and I thank you, Jermaine. The thing that conflicts with me is you said, you stated the concerns you've got, but you did say that you guys get along well with the administration.
We do.
So something's off. I mean, something doesn't sound right. It's like it can't be both.
At our department level, we have a great administration, leadership at our department level. We're just meeting, we feel that some of our priorities are not being met at the higher levels, the decision-making levels. You know, our leadership goes and makes requests, uses, and then those priorities are not the same as the city leadership.
Is it, so it stops, you feel like you don't get any traction with the city, somebody that's a non-firefighter department?
Not always.
Trying to find out where.
It's hard to, sometimes it's hard to articulate what the fire service is to people that don't work in the fire industry. It's a unique career field. And when there's, the disconnect is, and like I said, we don't know at our level 100% what goes on at Scott's level. But we know what we have, the rank and file know what our issues are. We use our chain of command. Our chain of command goes up, falls there. And not saying current administration, but previous administrations, those priorities, our department priorities and their priorities did not align, which cost us, the employees, the rank and file, to feel like that this was not a place that was going to be beneficial to stay for their careers. And they left. So obviously the pay was the big thing prior to the structured pay plan. That issue has been alleviated, but there are still multiple issues, and this is our way of legally addressing those issues and giving us that stability, giving us that boost in morale, because we do have a voice. We can come and sit down with the leadership if there's an open, and a lot of times there might not be any, contract can go and either party can say, everything's good. We'll just sign it and move on to we'll address, just sign it and move on to the next, put it in writing and move on to the next one. There's clauses in there that if there is an issue that comes up, be it either from the city, like I stated earlier, Junction City had a major crisis, budget crisis, when the First Division left Junction late 90s. They opened it up, were able to address the union, and the union was able to help out and to alleviate the budget concerns. And that's what we're here. We're not here to be adversaries. We're here to be partners.
No, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and we're not looking to try to override the city manager's decisions or anything. He has a job to do, but we just would like to come into that, for lack of a better, a seat at the table, a voice. Sure. I mean, it's great to know that Scott has an open door policy. That's great. Our former city manager had an open door policy too. At the end of the day, his priorities and our priorities may not align. And you guys, the personnel, don't have any other avenues. If you don't, the priorities don't align with city manager, that's where it's seen. At least this way, we can navigate, discuss those priorities, and come to a beneficial conclusion for both parties.
With a unified voice.
With a unified voice, not just me. It's
coming to you.
yes. You're not hearing from multiple people at the same time. You're hearing from the elected representative of the union.
No, thank you. So just to the rest of the commission, I guess my thoughts are, definitely, I appreciate, I hate that it would have to get to suggesting a union, involvement to understand concerns. I mean, that's too bad. But I've not heard anything here tonight that would make me think we still can't try to address things internally. I don't know. I don't think any of you guys are of the type that are like, oh, well, let's just give up. Let's not try to get it fixed. I think we'd like to if we could. And I'd love somebody to tell me why we couldn't possibly do it internally, or at least try. So that would be my ask, is that we look at that, put it, as another item. We need to dig through it more. If we need to meet with you individually or something like that, Scott, get out any, concerns or anything that we've got, and ways to maybe go about tackling the concerns that the department has. I'd like to do that.
Well, I kind of think I see it differently. I mean, I feel like 45 of the 46
That's a lot.
44.
want this. We need to,
3 have left since that vote.
and 3 have left since that vote. We need to respect our firefighters and our employees and at least listen to them. And I don't think it's all about complaints. I think that we've got 2 different issues here. I mean, I see it more of like a brotherhood or a sisterhood or I don't know, it's like the Lions Club, right? Like you have someone's back. I think we've gone down this rabbit hole of HR issues, and I think it's more than that. I think it's training, I think it's safety, I think it's community outreach, I think it's, you guys have state conferences and things. I mean, but for you guys to show up tonight and want this, that speaks volumes to me. So,
That's why Jermaine was
kinda where
talking
I'm at
about
with it.
finding out from more of the
Yeah,
staff.
that's what I said. I would
And
definitely
also-
love that.
I would like to see if we do a survey, that should be coming from us. We do a survey, that should be, to see whatever's wrong, we need to do that ourselves.
Yeah,
We need to do that.
I don't feel like it's a
I
personal
agree.
dig on us as a city. I didn't take it that way. And it kind of turned that way a little bit right now.
Well,
And
I'm
I don't think it meant to. I mean, I think we have great city.
It's
we
Mike's fault.
Yeah.
I was just, after 20 years, I've been through a
Fair.
lot.
That's
and-
fair. Yeah, I see it. And you've had ups and
I've seen a
downs,
lot.
but
And coming from my perspective, it's like, I mean, I
Right.
admire the job you guys do. You got
I
an
mean, we have
important
a-
job, and it's a lot.
Right.
You guys got a lot on your plate. But
Hey, I'm not a firefighter. I'm not even going to compare that.
Right.
So
But
I mean, we have a great
This is-
chief. I mean, I've not heard
Yes.
complaints like that. I mean, I
Yes.
think it's just for
it's just been
For
it's just
the
ongoing
greater
issues,
good.
and we may address them. You send a survey, we may address them temporarily during Scott's tenure, but Scott leaves, a new person comes in.
Right.
Might not have the same thing. So we're back to square one. You got low employee morale. This gives us the stability that we need to continue, because who knows, the next chief that comes in, he might not have the
awesome.
same priorities as our chief, and
We definitely need
That
to
part I
get
do
input
like.
from our legal counsel,
Oh, absolutely.
For sure.
I
Yeah,
support what
absolutely.
you guys do 100%. I mean, I grew up with firefighters in my family. I am dedicated to what you guys do in our community. It's so important.
it is important. Yeah.
This step is important too, so we need to have everything.
This is
And
going to
have
sound
information.
just in line with what we're requesting, but when I say we, Mike, be a part of developing that questionnaire? I mean, that's the types of things that we're advocating for is, he could, not saying you will, but he could write it in a way that doesn't
language.
engage what the issues are, if there are any. So again, a partnership, developing this questionnaire, so
Yeah.
members can get.
I really just don't want to.
And that's what unions are about, is
Good
working
thing about
together,
that.
not necessarily butting heads all the time.
I just don't want to focus. I want to focus more on the bigger picture here.
Right.
Well, you're an
The
advocate.
benefit.
I mean, you're a total advocate, so that's,
But I mean,
it puts a
yes.
little slant on it. That's the only thing.
Yes, and I wasn't
And if
always.
there are issues now, we want to take care of them anyway,
Yeah, I wasn't.
whether we do this or not.
Sure.
Well,
Yeah,
and to
for
your
sure.
point, Nancy and Holly, yes, 44 out of 46 are in favor of it because they have those concerns, because they're not getting addressed today. If everything was perfect, I wouldn't think they would think it was necessary,
Maybe.
right?
Maybe,
Well,
I
there's
don't know.
We address them
Maybe so.
today, doesn't mean it's gonna be addressed in the future.
I can say how the vote went. We talked a lot about the positives that we have. Really, none of the negatives came out of that meeting. It was all positive for the most part.
I mean,
I
we
have
could
to go
talk
back.
about also
Thank you
how,
for your
how
email.
unions could get worse over time too. I mean,
How what?
like
I'm
Scott
sorry.
was saying, there's
I
nothing
didn't
perfect
hear you.
out there
I'm sorry.
either.
Say that
But so
again.
we could talk about how unions can degrade over time as well. So I mean, I don't want to make sure we're, have everything on the, same page,
Yeah.
but,
We're
what
all-
we start today could be terrible down the road.
There's
For the
always
city,
that, but
for the
that's-
city.
Yeah, but that's why you build that collaborative partnership. I mean, you could swing it both ways, bad leadership in the union, bad leadership in the city. But that, having this partnership hopefully alleviates that risk, because we're all adults, we're all working to the same goal, which is to provide the best service for the citizens of this city. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what we're here to do.
And if you're,
And keeping that experience and, keeping Heim around, keeping the guys around, that's the best way to do it. And this is from everything I've seen and looked at, this is the best way to do that. The studies have shown, like I said, throughout multiple studies, through multiple agencies have shown that. I'm not saying that unions are great for every industry. I'm not, but for the fire service, with this, the uniqueness of our job, it is necessary for us to be able to communicate and articulate our needs, and to make sure meeting our priorities are being, are the same, or
No, I
met.
appreciate that.
So,
I love
think
the
I-
fact that you're
yeah.
forward thinking and you're thinking about the leaders of tomorrow, and you definitely want a system that's going to support long-term.
Yes.
We all can work together in collaboration with the unified voice. Last question that I have for you directly.
Sure.
You've been with the union for 15 years. I heard all the great things they offer you. Tell me one of the challenges that you had about the union.
I mean, honestly, I haven't had any issues with the union. I mean, what they've done for us, I personally have not had any issues with them. They represent us given we haven't had a contract here, we've been unrecognized. So even though I've been part of the union, the only aspects of the union I address would have legal representation and the benefits on the back end as far as retirement benefits, safety, the lobbying for improved safety measures, better gear, better equipment to make sure we prevent, any major illnesses or accidents as much as possible in our line of work. So in those aspects, I mean, that's what I've had personal experiences with, because we're not recognized. So I can't say I've had any bad experience. The union's been very beneficial to me in those aspects. So,
Well, I appreciate it.
personally.
Thank you for your service and your community involvement, and thank you all for your services
Thank you.
as well.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you guys, appreciate it.
All right, thank you, guys.
thank
You're
you.
welcome.
All right. With that, Scott, we've all spent a lot of time together in the last 48 hours. Scott, do you have anything?
I do. So first of all, Commissioners Wilson and Hingula, can you confirm for me, Tuesday at 2, does that work for you? Are you available Tuesday at 2 o'clock to do our economic development
We on the spot, look at 'em.
budget conversation, hopefully final combo?
You said 2 o'clock
Tuesday,
Tuesday.
15th?
Before our meeting?
No,
This is
26th.
Today.
22nd.
today.
Yeah. the following one.
You missed it.
How long you thinking?
No, I
Hour?
actually read your, and didn't
About
do
an
it
hour?
right away.
Hour and a half, probably.
Depends on how fiery the conversation gets, but yeah, I would say hour and a half max.
Okay.
We get a little fiery sometimes over Nancy.
It's all good.
Passionate,
It's all good.
passionate.
Passionate.
Yeah, we're
That's
passionate.
good, though. I love
That's
the
good.
passion. I love
A
passion.
little bit of fire, yeah.
Are you available?
Yeah, I'll make it work.
Okay, so that's set, Tuesday, 22nd, 2 PM, here, same room, we'll have the economic development conversation. We'll be sure to we're already discussing some of the options you guys had, and then we'll go
And thank
from
you
there.
guys for that. I
No,
didn't do
no
that for
problem.
me, so.
You should have gotten an email from Melissa about signing up for Alert Sense. Some of our staff members have had issues signing up for it. So if you guys thought it was easy, that's great.
It's fine.
Okay.
Me too.
And
But if you have issues, please let us know, because if we think it's confusing, surely the public will. So any input you can have on how to make that sign up easier would certainly appreciate. Okay, good,
Can I
glad
ask
to
a
hear.
question? It's called Alert Sent.
I think it's Alert Sense now. It's like software companies change
Can
names.
we
Like
change it to like LV Alert or something, or just have to go by that name?
we have to go by whatever
Okay.
they
Just
call
checking.
it, but we can look into a way to brand it a little bit.
Yeah, so I was thinking, just
Yeah.
for, okay.
Finally, speaking of surveys, we've been working on the trash survey that you guys requested. I think we set August 6th as the public forum date, I believe. Pretty much officially, unofficially for the town hall, however we're gonna call it. Trevor's working on some visual aids for that. We'll send you more info on that here this week.
It's in the
August
evening
6th?
or during the day?
It'll probably be in the evening, yeah.
Okay. At community center or here?
Be here.
That's on Wednesday.
Here or community? Okay.
Yeah.
Trash talk.
Be,
Trash talk.
So what?
I'll be up in Illinois.
Okay, sorry.
Hold on, when? I'm still trying to get.
Do you want us to move it, or is August 6th okay?
6th
or-
No,
at
I'm-
7,
you
yeah,
know,
around 6 or 7.
I trust these guys. And
It's a
girls,
Wednesday.
ladies,
So around 6 probably or something?
people, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do like 5 to 7 or 4 to 7 or
That
something
sounds
like
good.
that.
Do it after work.
It'll be a come and go kind of thing. It won't, we're not gonna just have one big speech probably. We'll just have, I mean, unless we wanna do a Q&A, certain portion of it, but really generally the way these things go is staff are there and people walk around and staff are there to answer questions, and, if you, some pieces like.
Just come and go then if we need to.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, so a lot of times they'll give you like those sticky note stickers, little
sticky
circles,
on there?
and they'll
Which
put
one
on the
you
one
want?
they want or whatever. We can find creative ways of doing that. We'll come up with some ideas, but, so yeah, anyways, so back to the survey on that. We've gone through several iterations of it, and we are struggling to make it in a way that is both easily consumable for the reader and also gets the message across of the decisions we're asking of them. One concern that kind of came up in our last iteration was, you guys have already kind of gone down this option 2.5 path. What if we do this survey and we get option 1 or 4 as like the dominant answer? And so what if the survey does not reflect the city commission's goals? But more importantly is, as we go through these iterations of it, and Melissa has worked really hard on trying to, it's mostly me just going, I don't like this. And Melissa's been very patient with me, but from my perspective, every time I look through it, it's like, if I'm reading this, I'm either thinking this doesn't tell me anything, or this tells me too much. And we can't add visual aids because we don't have any designs, we don't have any architectural plans. I'm just worried that if we release the survey, it will have some negative impacts on the community and what we're trying to do.
Could you run it past us so
Sure.
that we could make
Take a look yourselves?
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
we'll do that.
Great.
Okay.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
Anything else, Scott?
That's all I got.
Rip?
No, don't have anything here. Thanks.
Don't have anything tonight.
I have enjoyed my 2 days with you guys though. Jermaine?
I'll send a reminder, but August 16th is going to be the end of the week school bash. Our church is going to be partnering with Trio, and that's going to be at Woman's Pool at 10 a.m. August 16th, end of the first week school bash. And for those who don't have school supplies, can come out and get school supplies during that time as well, but hopefully you will, because school starts August the 11th.
I didn't even know when
So
school
early,
started.
it gets earlier and earlier every year.
Yes, oh my gosh, yeah, I'm looking forward to kids returning to school. I love my kids though, love y'all if y'all watching.
One thing I have is this piece of paper that you have to come and sign,
I'll sign that.
Okay.
and you all enjoy the rest of the week.
Well, with that, we'll adjourn.
Okay, great meeting, y'all. Excellent.
We are really getting a lot of QT today, quality time together. Oh, Joe, you stuck it out to the end.
He did, didn't he?